The Business Anatomy, Exploring the Hidden Parts, was this year's theme for the 11th annual JBDC Small Business Expo and Conference. And as usual, Business Access TV was there to bring you highlights.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the annual JBDC Small Business Expo and Conference. You've already heard, I think several times since this morning, that we are exploring the business anatomy, exploring the hidden parts. Now, the primary function of an expo, this one being no different, is to forge networking opportunities. Is that right? Generally, most of us are in this room for that reason, for our business. Now, as business operators and entrepreneurs, we are in this room with over 50 exhibitors, 500 participants, government, media, and financial partners. I think it is safe to say that we are likely to achieve the networking goal. What do you think?
We want to welcome you 100% this morning to share with you. And I must tell you from the offset that we are very pleased that our minister, this is his second time around in less than 24 hours, Harry. Yes. A big thing that, you know. Hello. Not only is he new, but most ministers don't have that kind of time, even if they want to. But our minister has found the time. And for us, that's a very huge message that he has the MSME sector at his heart, and he's trying very hard behind the scenes to do a lot of things which will be manifested very soon. When you join JBDC, by the way, once you are appointed as permanent staff, we do inject a little madness. So if you see us looking over the top, we put it in the water every morning. If you see us overexcited and so, some of it is because that is working, but also because, as Harry says, at 2 o'clock, we had a team engaged from the organization to make sure that this morning we look as beautiful and organized as we are looking. And I want to publicly thank them on behalf of Harry, myself, and the board for their continued commitment and support to us as we carry out the mandate that we have received from the government of Jamaica. Now, I had a response from a participant today, and she's a big woman like myself, and she said, Miss V, I don't know why I feel like a picnic. This is not my first expo, and I'm just sort of excited, like when a child going to a party. And you know why? Because she has experienced the expo. She knows that the team at JBC ensures that whatever we deliver is relevant to the development of each and every one of you. And today, we're going through the anatomy of the business.
I just want to say that as a new minister on the block in this super ministry, I just want to say, first of all, how inspired I'm feeling by what I've seen over the past few weeks and what I'm participating in today. We had the Expo 2018, and we had the New Village, in which there was a showcasing of so many green shoots. And the emphasis is not on green, don't worry about it. But let's call it new shoots then. But the spirit of initiative and enterprise is alive and well. And I really feel inspired by that. And as your new minister, I want you to know that out of this initiative and enterprise that you're demonstrating, the willingness to take risks, because we've been through a rough patch, you know. When we had the whole financial sector collapse and FinSac and all of that, it led to almost 2 decades of people not wanting to venture into entrepreneurial activity. And I see a sharp, elevated focus on a rekindling of that propensity. And when I look at it, you know, and I give God thanks that my mother taught me to read the Bible, because sometimes when you want to express yourself, you have to go back to the Bible. And I said to myself, look at this. Look at this new spirit of entrepreneurial activity taking place that needs nurturing, needs support. And the JBDC is doing its part. I want to congratulate them for the role that they're playing. And I look at it and I say, my God, you know, in the book of Job, the book of Job says, for there is hope of a tree, if it be cut down, that it will sprout again. And from the tender branch thereof, it shall not cease. You like that? There is hope of a tree, if it be cut down, that it will sprout again. You ever see cut back coffee tree? Other trees, they cut them back and they sprout again. And they get much more productive than before. And so, as I look at this new landscape of opportunity, I'm there now reflecting as a government, what can we do to give you the further support and stimulus that is needed? How can we further enhance the work of JBDC to ensure that they do much more than the 3,000 or so clients that they have now? I want to see that doubled and tripled and quadrupled and moving fast into the tens of thousands. I want to see the day coming when a JBDC is managing 50,000 accounts rather than 3,000. Why? Because if you look at taxpayer of Jamaica records, yes, the synergy with having known finance, it has its place now, because I've moved from macroeconomic stabilization. Now it's time for microeconomic mobilization. And if you look at the numbers, TAJ tells us there are over 400,000 entrepreneurs in Jamaica. Small businesses, over 400,000 of them registered. And there are a number that are not registered because they are known as being part of the informal economy. So we have a lot of entrepreneurs out there. And one of the first challenges that we face is that in order for us to maximize the support that we need to give to you, we also need your concurrence and agreement to get formal if you're not formal. And there will be trade-offs. There will be benefits to getting formal. Among those benefits to getting formal will be access to finance at reasonable single-digit interest rates. And this is a serious thing, because some of us have come up the path of financing by the wrong route, the expensive route. Some of us have sought to go to, and I'm not attacking my microfinance people, because I helped them along the way when I was minister. But there are certain types of industries, like manufacturing, like agro-processing, that you cannot finance it at 30% interest rate. It's not going to work. You're not going to be competitive. You won't be able to begin to even think about targeting the export markets. If you have to develop a product line on which you are paying 25 and 30% interest rate, which is typically what the microfinance people are charging, if not higher. So in exchange for us being able to find the cheaper money for you, part of that requirement must that you must become formal.
About the entrepreneurial way of thinking is that it predisposes you to action. It's about the mind, but it predisposes you to doing something. So if you're learning and you're not doing, it means you're not entrepreneurial. Not right now anyway. But the fact is that success in business is directly correlated. Them going in the same direction. If you have a high entrepreneurial mindset, the possibility of, the likelihood of success is high. They are correlated. If you have the entrepreneurial mindset, the likelihood of you being extremely successful in business is extremely high. So what must you do? One bright, anybody talk to me. If you know that the chances of your being successful is hinged on your developing the entrepreneurial mindset, what must you do? Absolutely, go after it. Go after it like what? Gold. Like is absolute gold, because that is the key to creating the change that we're looking for. Remember now, Jamaicans, we like to use the word jinal, don't? In jinal. Jinal is really just a patois word for creative, you know? You know? You know? Jinal is a patois word for creative. Jamaicans are some of the most creative people. That's why we have so much scammers. Because these are creative people who have not been taught how to harness that creativity and bring it above board. So the onus is on us to hone the natural creativity that lies within this nation. I was in Curacao recently and I heard them talking about Curacao. It's so creative, and I'm saying, no. I've never heard about anything that the world has logged on to from Curacao. Creativity resides in Jamaica, no sir? We are the home of creativity. Creativity is thinking new things. Innovation is doing new things. So it starts with us being creative. The difficulty is that we're not bridging the gap between creativity and innovation. How we do that? How do we get beyond this genialness that we like to talk about? Because it's really creativity. Talking about the entrepreneurial mindset. What is a mindset? It's a set of beliefs or a way of thinking that determines one's behavior, outlook, and mental attitude. Correct? Simple as possible. And therefore, we come back. I was talking about entrepreneur before, entrepreneurship, or entrepreneurial, that word, or the root word being entrepreneur. And I spoke to mindset, an entrepreneurial mindset. Simply an inclination towards discovering, evaluating, and acting on opportunities. Is that a contrast? Mindset and acting on. Aren't you supposed to be just thinking? Mindset is about thinking, right? Right? It's about thinking. The entrepreneurial mindset, however, is not purely about thinking. It's a mental attitude that predisposes you to action. It's a mental attitude. That is why I keep telling people that the entrepreneurial mindset is not only for entrepreneurs. It is a life principle. It's something to live by.
Good Life, your weekly dose of information on nutrition, wellness, and fitness. Discover ways to nurture your mind, body, and spirit.
That you build the satisfaction. Now, enough of you are sell things and not sell the wrong thing. Like somebody tell me earlier, I'm not call her name. She said to me, Mr. Crawford, I sell natural juice. No, you don't sell natural juice. You sell an option for health. Because I don't really want a natural juice. Tell the truth, enough time, things were good for your taste so bad that nobody wanted. But because I don't want that, I will buy it. So therefore, what you're selling to me is long life. In this way. So you really not sell me natural juice. Some people say me I sell craft. You really sell a gift to my friend. I don't really need no craft. I need something for my friend. If I could buy a car, I buy it. It's just that I can't afford no car, so this is an option for my friend. So you have to understand, therefore, that the foundation of what you're doing is a need. Now, if I want to start with that, what is the need? A need is a state of felt deprivation. Not a state of existing deprivation, you know. Because some of us deprive and don't know. If you look in your finger right now, you see some white mark. It means you're short of calcium. Now, enough how not going to start looking on the finger. Anybody who see the white mark automatically now start to feel deprived. He was deprived, you know, but him never feel deprived. Now that him look and see the white mark now, he must say, we sell milk. He want milk now because he feel deprived of calcium. Are you understanding what I'm saying? No, there's some people who are not deprived, but feel deprived. I mean, sometimes when I feel sad, and there are times where I do feel sad, people really believe that I'm always happy and I always want to take a photograph, including when I'm at the doctor. Say, there the doctor, you're dead, and somebody said, Mr. Crawford, can take a picture like, okay, let's do this, because you know every day is a sale day, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you have to realize this, that sometimes you're home, sometimes you're in a company and feel lonely. You're not deprived, but you feel deprived. Care for people, them belly full, but them feel hungry. He's not deprived, but him feel deprived. So one of the things in marketing, one of the things in business is to establish a feeling of deprivation. So when you see me now, Mr. Crawford, your lip them look dry, man. You want some beetroot. If you drink beetroot, it's good for dehydration. That now make me start saying, where the beetroot come, I don't want to dry, let me feel deprived. And I go to a place and I say, how much egg you use? You 100 case, you have it dash all the shell. Where you going to put the shell? No, man, I just think up the place. Him start to say, you're nothing. No, man, I just think up the place. Kind of no shell, no rubbish. I mean, I deal with it. Him feel deprived. If you not create a feeling of deprivation, then there can be no sale, because that is the foundation of purchases. A state of felt deprivation. There's a man who say he used to walk and knock on door and sell door. So when me open my door, now you say, yo, you want a door, where you knock on? Where you did knock on? You understand? But suppose when me talk to him, they say, but Mr. Crawford, if I kick this door one time, it will drop off. And I read the door, I sell a security. Then I start saying, you know, what kind of door? Iron door, let me talk about it now. Because I start to feel deprived. So a need is a state of felt deprivation. Now, once you establish your product, what is the need that your product can satisfy? Enough people suffer from what you call a myopia, marketing myopia. The perception that a man wants a product. So, like when we have put up our curtain now, because I know Jamaica people every Christmas you have to change a curtain. That's what the thing said. So you have to change a curtain now. And you say, yo, me not have the hole, I want to put in the curtain. Me not have the hole. Me have to go down to hardware and lumber. Them sponsor the thing, because we not get them none, if they not sponsor the thing, not get no props. No? All right. You go to the next place. So you go down to this place now. And you say, yo, I want a drill. And the man say, okay, I have this drill, hands-free. No, I don't know if I can work hands-free, but it's hands-free. No noise, no dust. Dust consume, it just suck in the dirt and everything. And infrared. Sound like a great drill. But then him come to you and say, yeah, but after 10 million. You just want to put up 2 curtains. You go back here, you get a stone, 2 nail, knock in the curtain. If the wall chip out, you close the curtain and cover it. We're good again. So clearly you never want a drill. You want a hole to put up a curtain. So if me was a carpenter, maybe me buy this drill. Because me to make my work easier over the next 50 years. If you only selling a drill, then a man cut him eye because you suffer from a myopia. You think you're a product. Now all of us think our product is the greatest product, you know. And not understand what is the deprivation, what is the need that this person have.
So your presentation was about building organizational muscle. Talk to us about that. Just summarize it for us.
Yeah, well, not only the muscle, but what are the hidden parts? You know, sometimes we're building up the arms and the legs, but we're not looking at the core and some other parts that people usually ignore. So what was basically explained to them is that the product is not the total to be consumed. It's a solution that you're offering. So basically, you're going to offer a solution that will create a long-term client that is totally satisfied. And once you focus on that, then you're likely to be a good business person. And a business person is not a person that sell book or sell pen or sell whatever. If one product isn't working, a business product seek profit by offering value, and you can go into other things. So a lot of time we tie ourselves to one business and not realize that if that one is going in the south, there are others opportunity going north. So you can seek those opportunities.
Also, Jamaica is considered to be one of the most entrepreneurial nations in the world, right? But it's not reflected in our economy. What systems do you think that entrepreneurs can put in place to improve productivity, efficiency, and profitability?
Well, what Jamaica have a problem with is that we don't know who we are and what it means. You see, as I explained inside, a lot of persons who are now entrepreneurs were once wage seekers. So people who were once wage seekers are now profit seekers, but we don't have that culture of a profit seeker because we never grew up into it. So my child will benefit from me being a profit seeker, but I didn't benefit from my father. He was a wage seeker. So some of the natural tendencies I didn't grow up with. So things like the business, small business, they now train you into those things that you didn't have. So the more we accept that it is now a spirit or a necessity, and therefore the skills were not natural to us. You know, just like, for example, running a stadium is natural to us because our athletes went to boys' champs and girls' champs throughout them life, and them cousin and everything can tell them what it is. It is not natural to those who were originally wage seekers, and the family set up and your circles and your everything was a wage seeker, and so you now approaching seeking profit as if you're seeking wages, and so we now see the turnover. But if we can train these people who were wage seekers into some of the skills and the competence and the mindsets of profit seekers, you will see where them energies skyrocket, in my opinion.
What are the implications to ignoring legal obligations in our workplace?
Well, let me start out. The law is, everything is the law, and the law is everything, literally. And while it is that the law does not require that you necessarily have a clearly defined legal system in place, the law also tells you that ignorance of the law is no excuse. So it is important for persons to be aware of what the law is, and certainly if you're running a business, you need to understand the particular legal requirements, both as a matter of statute and as a matter of common law that govern your business. In that context, most persons, even if you can easily pick up a statute and read it, you may not necessarily understand how to apply them, how to interpret them, and how it is, more importantly, that the courts have looked at them through the cases. And so for that reason, it is important very often to place who can help you and give you proper guidance as to what the law is, how it applies, and how it is to be dealt with in relation to whatever you're doing.
Talk to us about your goal being here today at 11th staging.
So at the 11th stage of the JBDC Expo, the Small Business Expo, Yellow has decided to partner with this organization once again because it represents a good opportunity for us to showcase our 3 advertising platforms, our print, online, and mobile, to business owners here. You have quite a few businesses that have been successful at doing their own advertising the way that they have been doing it. So they're feeling comfortable, feeling confident in some of the goals that they themselves have been able to achieve with utilizing things like Instagram, Facebook, or just doing their own referrals. However, we want to help them understand that there are a few more things that you need to put in place in order to cement your place in the minds of potential buyers. And being on a platform or utilizing a platform which has over 1 million subscribers every single day, when they're ready to make a purchase decision, that they're going to consult with this particular platform, be it our print or mobile app or our website, it makes sense because you don't want to miss out on any potential opportunities for growth, for growing your business. In addition to that, we've been given the opportunity as well at this year's expo to speak to the business owners. Right now, Adrian, our digital sales representative, is talking to them about the benefits of digital marketing. Of course, you know, that is our core, part of our core business. We have our print directory, but of course we do offer digital marketing services as well, web design, social media management, we do search engine optimization, SEM, all of those things to help businesses expand their reach. And we're trying to demystify the whole digital marketing space for business owners. People get a little intimidated when they hear digital marketing and they feel like, oh my God, this is a hefty price tag. This is a massive amount to pay. I'm a small business. I'm barely managing my operations, you know. Is this something that I can afford? And the answer we always tell persons is talk to us. Let us know what you are trying to achieve so we can understand your goals and show you how our solutions can help you achieve those goals without breaking the bank.
Tell us a little bit about what CNW Business offers and who's your audience really?
CNW Business offer ICT technologies, and we deal with small, medium enterprise customer. We deal with large customers, hospitality, BPO, and we deal with regional customers as well. But primarily, today at this function, our focus is SME and SOHO customers, right? So with our SME customers, we want our SME customers to know more about the different technologies that we're using to enable their business, right? We know that efficiency is a standard problem for a lot of business, right? And what we do is we come in, we do a needs assessment, and we tell that business what sort of ICT technology that you would need to actually grow your business, something that will help you to save in your business, and something that can scale with your organization, right? So our focus is to ensure and make sure that all our SME customers are taken care of from a technology standpoint, right? We are the technology partners. Yeah.
All right, so you're also a sponsor here today. Talk to us about the relationship that you have with JBDC.
Well, our relationship with JBDC has spanned for some time now, because this is our second time around in terms of sponsoring it. And what we have done today is everybody that you see come in with their phone or their laptops or anything critical, they are able to surf the internet, they are able to do whatever they want because we power the event and they are using our blazing speed internet. The other thing that we also do as well, we came today with a message where we had a thought leadership message, business transformation. So we spoke about business transformation from a system approach as to how we could enhance businesses through technology.
Now we're talking about the intimacy of the law, and I like that sort of thinking. And the reason for that really is that one of the things you start doing when you start talking about business is that in particular you start thinking about the contract, the law of contract. And the law of contract, if I were to leave something with you and nothing else, you bear this in mind. The law of contract includes 3 critical phases. There's the entry, there's the performance, and there's a discharge. Those are the 3 intimate elements of the law of contract. And until you get that story of the contract right, you're going to have a problem. And until you get it as well, that the law, and in particular contract law, is not simply something that you deal with if and when you need to, but until you get to and understand that it is in fact a critical tool of commerce. Without it, you cannot undertake your business. Even if you think you are not abiding the law, that you're not concerned with the law, you have absolutely no way of getting around it. There are tax implications, there are setting up implications, there are banking obligations, there are insurance obligations, and I could go on and on and on. And all of them have a legal input at one level or another.
We do hope you've gathered some valuable information from the highlights of the 11th Annual JBDC Small Business Expo and Conference. Thanks again for tuning in to Business Access TV. Serious about business.
Have grown from 20 million US to now having 800 million US dollars.
Knowledge, skill, and professionalism. Those are my tools and my armor.
It's a big men don't cry, right? It's a big men don't cry, right?
We were being robbed some $531,000.
I've been angry to the point where I feel like I would get it.
to build farmers' resilience against climate change. With over 250 million Jamaican dollars in funding, farmers in vulnerable communities are being trained in best practice methods such as land husbandry and equipped for rainwater harvesting and improved irrigation infrastructure. Beneficiaries are small farmers in the parishes of Trelawney, St. Mary, Manchester, St. Catherine, St. Thomas, St. Anne, and Clarendon. We journeyed into the hills of Low River in southern Trelawney to look at the work being done to harvest and distribute water to the predominantly yam farming community.
The Low River Water Harvesting and Irrigation Scheme is just under $2 million. One of the systems that has been most far-reaching. The fact is that to date we have just about 70 householders that have been connected to the system, and that is directly impacting about 350 community members. This system comprises of an entombment. What we have done, we have improved the entombment. We have built a wall across this area here, about 5 to 6 feet in depth and about 12 feet across, and that has improved the water storage capacity significantly. It was about 9 feet prior to the intervention, and now the 6 feet that we have added brings it to about 14 feet in depth.
To increase the flow of the water from the hill, the 3-inch pipes which connected the system before were changed to 6-inch pipes.
And that is what accounts for the significant pressure that we observe down in the community.
Prior to the improved water system, community members would have to come here and catch water for domestic use, while the farmers had to go to the river to catch water for irrigation purposes.
So you no longer have to go to the river to take up water?
We don't think so.
That's the water that you farm
here.
Pipe run, everything going in process. We don't have to go to the river. We don't have to pay the extra money for you to carry the water.
I think this water system would help us better now.
Presently, we have an approximately 470 farmers who benefit from the system. These farmers presently cultivate some 267 hectares of land. We are encouraging farmers to farm what we call climate smart agriculture. And this project certainly is a way to assist these farmers in order for them to produce all year round and in order for them to support, especially the import substitution program that the government is presently promoting.
The Low River Water Project was started in 2014 by the residents and Councillor of the Lorimer's Division, Paul Patmore. By enhancing the water system, the Government of Jamaica Adaptation Fund program was able to not only increase the flow of water, but also ran pipes along the main, and the residents took it a step further.
They have gone ahead and invested in pipes, in black tanks, to take the water from our distribution line into their household. So this is a real partnership between the community and the project. Many of the farmers have testified that they are able to go back into production, expand their production, and quite a number of householders are now living more comfortable in terms of having access, increased access to water, both for irrigation as well as domestic purposes. The greenhouse that was out of operation because of the lack of water, preparation is being made as we speak to recommission that greenhouse into production. Transportation comes as far as from St. Anne, Clarendon, Manchester to collect water, to carry back to those communities to service farmers as well as community householders or domestic as well as irrigation use.
The next phase of the Low River Water Project is to connect the farmers with on-farm irrigation systems.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
original.
The License Center of Excellence caters to students post-primary 13 years and up who have been assessed and who have been diagnosed to be on the intellectually disabled spectrum. That means they're either mild to moderate. The Digicel Foundation was kind enough to give us this wonderful school so St. Thomas can cater more to these children who need special attention. This institution opened its doors September 2017. We have a wonderful team here. We have teachers who love children. We have an administrative and an ancillary staff who loves children. Most naturally, the campus coordinator loves children. So we are here catering to the needs of these children because we believe in adding value. These children have a lot to offer, but you can only unearth it with patience, with love, and with care. Because if they don't trust you, you can't win them. And so, we want these children to be independent. We want them to contribute to their families, to their communities, and the society at large. And so we're preparing them for the working world. So at the License Center of Excellence, we are skill-based. There is room for improvement, and we welcome the hands to share so that we can care more. We offer theater arts. Yes, the children can do a little. We communication. We do math, but not the math you know of trigonometry. No, we are teaching them how to balance their books so they know a lot of measurement and of course money. We offer to them home economics, food preparation, and a little clothing and textile. As you walk around our lovely campus, it's green vegetation. So we do a little bit of agriculture and we're able to give to our kitchen, and the children can get to take home. Of course at a cost, because we're teaching them that everything comes with a cost because we need money to do other things. My students are interesting and we listen to them. One boy said to me, "Miss, me no want the way you do the school and I'm want to fill your block." And so I went out into the wider community and we're actually teaching our students how to lay blocks, and they're enjoying it. In special, a lot of emphasis is placed on life skills. And life skills is taught in all the subject areas with extra emphasis coming from the guidance departments. So of course, License Center of Excellence is the place to be.
My classroom is a corporate space. I facilitate learning. My students learn from each other. They help each other during the learning process. Enabling them, I make certain that I encourage them that there's nothing that they cannot do. And the motivation that they get from being a part of my classroom, the fact that we differentiate learning too in there and tiered activities are used, it makes no child feel left out.
What I love about the License Center of Excellence, it's a level playing field. We exclude no one. So all activities, if it means you're to get assistance, be it from a classmate, a teacher, or from an ancillary worker, you're going to get the assistance because we believe in excellence. Excellence for all.
Mosquitoes will breed in containers that hold water. Tightly cover water storage containers such as drums, buckets, and tanks, or cover the water surface with cooking oil. Punch holes in all tins, plastic containers, and boxes to prevent the collection of water before disposal. Cover old tires or fill with dirt. Scrub all vases once per week to remove mosquito eggs and dispose of garbage by placing in plastic bags. Do your part to prevent mosquito breeding. A message from the Ministry of Health.
The call to give blood is never ending, as there is always the need for it. And that's why the government has put the necessary equipment in place to process your donation and make it safe for others to receive.
As long as man is around to get sick or injured, blood will remain a high-demand substance for health practitioners. But for all its wonderful properties, the life-saving bodily fluid could become a death sentence if not handled properly. For those who need their supplies boosted, health workers cannot simply hook up a needle and feed the red and white cells from another individual straight to the needy bloodstream.
It's not just a simple matter of collecting blood, finding out what the group is, and then passing it on to the recipient. There are lots of other things that go into providing safe blood.
Think of blood like a home. Certain fundamental things like walls, floors, and ceilings are common to all, but the little things you put in over the years and experiences you have within those spaces make each unique to its owner. Like your home, blood can change owners, but you have to make some adjustments to have it meet the needs of the new recipient. That is what the technicians and health workers have to do before blood that is donated can be passed on to someone in need. The first step is to screen the donor to determine their medical history and suitability to donate.
The screening is aimed at 1, protecting the donor, and 2, protecting the potential recipient.
After that, it's a matter of sterilizing the donor's arm and proceeding to draw the blood. From there, the blood is taken to the lab, where it goes through a series of tests. Technicians look for things like blood groupings such as A, B, O, and Rh types, antibodies in the red blood cells, venereal diseases such as syphilis, HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, hepatitis B and C, which affect the liver, and HTLV, human T-cell lymphotropic virus type 1 and 2, a virus that weakens the immune system. At the island's blood bank, the National Blood Transfusion Service, tests such as these are carried out daily. For each unit of blood drawn, 2 sample tubes are also collected. These are referred to as the red and purple top. For accuracy, data on the tubes must correspond with the main bag. The purple top sample is used to screen for antibodies and blood groupings. Blood grouping is just as important as the infectious screening. This ensures compatibility for the recipients, that is, people of the same blood group receiving the same blood type.
We do our ABO grouping here at the blood bank using the Diamed system. This technology is a gel system. It has microtubules, otherwise we call it as wells, and it has our anti-serum already in these wells.
A drop of the donor blood is placed into each of these wells. It is incubated and put in a machine that spins the substance at a high speed. After this process, a reading is given.
This is an example of a blood group. We can read it macroscopically. This is reading O negative based on the cells that are seen here.
In VDRL testing, which checks for syphilis, a small amount of the serum or the white part of the blood is dropped into a tube and then incubated at 56 degrees Celsius. After 30 minutes, it is taken from the incubator, placed on a slide, mixed with an antigen, and then rotated at 180 degrees for 4 minutes. The slide is then placed under a microscope for reading. A positive sample for syphilis would show signs of lumps or flocculation. Samples from the main lab are taken over here for the human immunodeficiency virus HIV screening, as well as the human T-cell lymphotropic virus HTLV and hepatitis B and C screenings. The different reagents or chemical compound for each of these viruses are added to the blood samples and placed in this machine. The reagent will cause a color change to the sample, indicating a positive reading.
Basically, it interprets this color change to a numerical value, which we can quantitate. Either if it's positive, it tells us the degree of positivity based on the numerical value, and if it's negative, we also get a numerical value, but we also have a cutoff value which can tell us whether it's negative or positive.
Whole blood is never administered as part of safety measures. The whole blood is separated into components: red blood cells or packed cells, plasma, or white cells.
If you had a patient who was anemic, who is in heart failure, and you gave whole blood, you're giving that person a lot of plasma unnecessarily. They really need the packed cells component. Not only is it unnecessary, but you put them at added risk of making the heart failure worse. So it is important to give just the component that is required.
And the safety procedure doesn't end there. A cross-matching process is also done to identify minor blood groups that might interfere with a successful transfusion process. But once all the tests are done to satisfaction and the separation process is completed, you can rest assured that the blood to be administered is safe.
The ECJ will be renewing all voter ID cards. Visit any EOJ constituency office or voter ID card renewal center if your card has an issue date of 2015 or before. Cards with issue dates 2016 or later will automatically be reprinted. The ECJ will notify cardholders when cards are ready. Current ID cards will be valid until December 2020. For more information, contact the ECJ.
It's time to go, but not before this word from the late author and spiritual teacher Eileen Caddy. Gratitude helps you to grow and expand. Gratitude brings joy and laughter into your life and into the lives of all those around you. Remember to give thanks in all things. Do join us again tomorrow for another exciting program. In the meantime, stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
You're watching Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
You are watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Serious about business.
How much do you know about the LPO industry? Well, today you are in luck. We are here at the Norman Manley Law School for JAMPRO's Legal Process Outsourcing Forum. I'm your host, Amita Prasadweb. Please stay tuned.
So this forum is designed to define and explain legal process outsourcing. What are the risks? What are the challenges? We're aware that India is often given as the model for legal process outsourcing. And some of the similarities with our jurisdiction is that we have a common law system, We have lawyers who are trained proficiently in English. We have a tradition of an independent judiciary. I think it's on display right now. We also have, and I'm sure former graduate would agree with me, freedom of the press. And therefore, we have all the groundwork for being very similar to being very successful with LPO. But there are challenges, and we need to know them. And so I'm sure that this forum today is going to identify those for you. We hope that it will be a market that in 10 years from now, Jamaica will be a major player, but that we've managed all the risks and we're not doing it at a low level, but we are actually ensuring that we're engaging in high-level skills.
Legal process outsourcing is simply the activity of retaining non-traditional service providers in the legal space to do certain kinds of legal work for companies and law firms in developed countries.
So I don't need to be a lawyer?
It depends on the work that you're doing. So, legal process outsourcing can involve work that doesn't necessarily require a lawyer, but generally speaking, lawyers are the ones delivering these services. Some countries have moved first on the opportunity to capitalize on some of this work now flowing out of places like North America and the UK. And those countries have certain things in common. They have a large number of English-speaking legal professionals. They have good IT infrastructure or ICT infrastructure. And they can deliver legal work, certain kinds of legal work, or in fact, a lot of the legal work we do for lower rates and at least comparable quality. The legal industry latched on to this LPO idea, and that's reflected in the value of the LPO industry. So in 2016, estimates vary, but reasonable estimates have the LPO industry in 2016 at $4 billion US. By 2024, estimates have the industry at around $40 billion US. That's not just significant money, but it's even more significant growth over a very short time. Now, when I see these numbers, I think, how do we and how does Jamaica participate in this growth in a meaningful way? How do we get a sliver of that $40 billion that's up ahead? We don't need the entire 40, and in fact, we can't have the entire 40 billion. We need a sliver of that 40 billion. This is substantial business, and Jamaica is in a good position to participate in that in some way. We need to determine what that way is and how we do that. Currently, there are 6 key areas that are outsourced from North America and the UK. There's contract drafting, which involves playing a role in the process of how contracting is done by lawyers for their clients. So often you find, the contract, a draft is sent, it's negotiated, it's signed, but then everybody sets that down and it's forgotten. Nobody tracks the risks, nobody tracks the life cycle of that contract, whether they're staying inside the provisions or not, and that's become a key area for LPOs. LPO providers have gone to companies and said, well, let's take that off your hands. That's relatively low value but high risk work. And they handle, some LPOs handle end-to-end. They handle the negotiation of the contracts and management of the life cycle of the contract. Some will manage the life cycle of the contract after it's been negotiated by the company and their lawyers. There's compliance assistance, which is becoming more important these days. And that involves, for example, with the relatively new anti-money laundering regulations in these countries, there are new requirements on companies to be able to satisfy these compliance obligations. And again, high risk, but to the overall company, low value. And this, again, is one of the areas where LPOs are doing well at going to the companies and offering well-trained lawyers to take care of this piece of what the company has to do. E-discovery, which is where I started, as it relates to LPO activities, is the biggest piece of the LPO market currently, and is one of the areas set to, as you will see later once we get to that section of the presentation, set to experience the biggest piece of the growth going forward. And e-discovery, for those who don't know, involves the disclosure and production of documents in litigation or in some regulatory context, like securities. And that's the whole process of collecting those documents, getting them into a format that lawyers can review, having lawyers review them, determining what is to be disclosed and what is to be produced, and then producing those documents to a regulator or to the other side of a litigation. In a nutshell, that's what that is. Again, high risk, but to the company overall, low value, but also high cost if you continue to do this in North America or the UK. Some LPOs are in the business of what they call managed review. So irrespective of what the review is, whether it's in the litigation context or regulatory context or otherwise, you have tons of documents to review. They will provide you with the project managers, the technology, and the processes by which you can accomplish what you need to accomplish with this review of documents. Patent support is another area where significant growth is expected over the next few years. And this goes anywhere from managing patent portfolios to the actual filing of patents, which has increased relatively significantly in North America in the last couple of years. Litigation support is really a sub piece of e-discovery. And that's some of the more technical, technology-driven pieces of the process where, the documents, for example, you go into a company, you collect their documents from their IT infrastructure. It would be really inefficient for a lawyer reviewing those documents to be opening each document, to be requiring the native application to open each of these documents. So PowerPoint, you have to open in PowerPoint and review. Then you have to open Word in Word. Litigation support offers the ability to convert those documents relatively quickly into a seamless format where a lawyer can review document by document and provide his or her input on those documents in a seamless way. But that's really a piece of the e-discovery process. So the US and Canada are generally outsourcers, but are also outsourcing locations because there are firms in the US and Canada where companies will outsource their work, their alternative legal services providers operating in those countries as onshore outsourcers. The UK in Europe is a big outsourcer, and again also has some onshore outsourcing happening. In Asia Pacific, India is the big one. Australia is coming on stream. China for very particular functions in the space. Brazil and Mexico, not quite there. But South Africa is one of the leading jurisdictions for LPO services. You have a company like Exigent, for example, that operates out of South Africa. And we'll talk about this again later, but all these outsourcers, one of the key success factors for them is having boots on the ground in the countries from which the work is being outsourced. I operate in the Canadian market, so I thought I'd use Canada as an example to show you the kind of growth that's expected for the LPO industry in each of these areas that we just talked about. And you'll see that e-discovery, patent support, and litigation support are by far the largest benefactors of the growth we'll see going forward. This information is there to plant the seed in your mind as to if you're thinking about getting into this space, where do you focus your energy? It makes sense to focus your energy on the areas where big growth is expected.
How much do you believe in the viability of the LPO sector here, and why?
I think it's a quite viable sector in Jamaica for a number of reasons. So first is Jamaica has a big supply of well-trained English-speaking lawyers who are able to deliver quality service for lower fees than companies or law firms can get in certain in certain jurisdictions. Jamaica is also strategically located in the world. So we're right in the backyard of North America, for example, where we can almost seamlessly become a part of a legal team in that country, being on the same time zone, for example. We're close enough to the UK and have strong enough ties with the UK to be able to be an extension of a UK team as well. We have a common law, legal infrastructure in Jamaica. There are legislation and laws in Jamaica that are modeled off laws from some of these countries as well. So it's not an unfamiliar place to do that kind of work or that kind of business.
A few of the challenges that were mentioned earlier in regards to location, time zone, scalability, and then privacy. Can you speak to some of that?
I'll take scalability first because I think that's one of the bigger limiting factors for Jamaica. If you compare Jamaica to India, for example, which is one of the main outsourcing locations in the world, the population is massive in India, and the number of well-trained lawyers you might get in India is a lot larger than it is in Jamaica. And Jamaica is restricted by the fact that we're not really that many people when you compare us to other places in the world. But what's interesting to note, though, is the impact that technology is having on some of the services that are outsourced is actually, I think, is a positive for Jamaica. Because with the technology now, you need less people to be delivering these services. And so I think that puts Jamaica in even a stronger position going forward. The LPO industry is rapidly growing. I mean, estimates vary, but we're looking at growth between 2016 or 2017 from 4 billion US to 40 billion US. That's a massive compounded annual growth rate for that industry. And I think that shows us the kind of promise that's in that space for countries like Jamaica that's already doing very well in the general business process outsourcing space. It excites me particularly because it's a means by which Jamaica can add some sophistication to what we're able to deliver in terms of labor, in terms of work, and being able to insert Jamaicans into the international, the global value chain in the way that we can insert Jamaican lawyers in the value chain, I think is an exciting thing for Jamaica.
Speak to us about the LPO forum today at the Norman Manley Law School.
All right, so we decided to have this LPO forum because one of the things we're trying to do is start the LPO industry, because it's one of the industries that's growing rapidly worldwide. And I believe there's a tremendous opportunity for Jamaica to carve out a niche in this space. As you know, we have already been successful in the business process outsourcing industry. In a number of industries, we're doing it in healthcare, we're doing it in tech support, we're doing it in finance and accounting, we're doing it in HR. So we've been very successful in that industry, and a lot of the characteristics that drive success in that industry are the same characteristics that can allow us to be successful in the LPO industry.
What would you say are some major challenges for a few of your attendees here today?
To wrap their mind around the changing construct of the way work is done, and the changing characteristics of the legal profession. If you think about it, because of globalization, a lot of professions are being disrupted. You'll talk to architects who'll tell you people are now downloading drawings from the internet and just customizing it for the country. If you look at the whole BPO industry, work is sliced up, and you have people being hired with no degrees, for example, and they are trained to be specialists in a particular area. So in Jamaica, for example, we have people with 5 CSEC subjects who are doing level 3 tech support in a telecoms environment. Why? Because you can train them and create expertise and excellence, service excellence in people in specific slices. So if you take the area of legal process outsourcing, similarly, there are areas that, whether it be intellectual property, patent registration, contract review. These are areas that you can have highly specialized skills doing work, here in Jamaica. So, I think what we have to wrap our heads around is we need to find the next entrepreneur in this space who will understand the opportunity, put in the hard work to develop it, because it's going to happen, and it's going to happen one of two ways. It's going to happen where either as Jamaicans we take advantage and create the businesses that are serving the world in the legal space, or other companies are going to discover this gem called Jamaica with the number of legal professionals and talent here and set up facilities, and we'll just be working in those facilities.
We're talking BPOs, LPOs now. What's next for JamPro and doing business in Jamaica?
Right. So, you know, we're on a mission. So obviously the BPO industry is, and let me say outsourcing industry, because it's very broad. We're looking to grow that industry significantly. We expect, right now we're at about 32,000 people. We expect to get to about 50,000 in the next 2 years. And we're always looking to enhance the portfolio mix of work that's being done in the country. So like anything else, you're trying to increase the complexity of work being done, because the more complex the work, the higher the pay, right? So we really have our eyes on two things in that space. So to grow the numbers and to enhance the mix of work being done, because, you know, similar if you think of what happened in the US, right, with outsourcing of manufacturing jobs. You know, the thinking was, oh, we'll outsource these low-end jobs and do the higher value design work. But I think what they forgot in that equation is that not everybody can be a rocket scientist. Right. So you need jobs at all levels. So no different in all outsourcing space, you're going to have jobs at all levels. And what we're always looking to do is enhance the mix of those jobs.
And by now you would have understood what LPO means. But stay tuned for more. We're going to a break.
Great design is not only how things look, but also how well they work. The GLC, more than meets the eye.
Hi, this is Angeli Martin Spencer, Principal and Interior Decorator of ASH, Angeli Spencer Home, and you're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
Local law firms, I believe, can create capacity. It doesn't have to be an entire staffing agency. Local law firms can create capacity to train legal staff in the core skills needed in an outsourced project. It's not getting into the subject matter of the foreign law. And then the staffing agencies overseas who already have that capacity can simply identify a Jamaican law firm that has that potential and engage them directly. Or the overseas law firm can engage the person, the entity in Jamaica, directly. And then, this is the message now for the law students, is that you would associate yourself with a law firm or a staffing agency within a law firm, and you would receive information on upcoming legal outsourcing projects that you can apply for. So I would stay in my apartment while I'm studying for the bar. I say, okay, I'm sending off my resume to these 20 persons, and then they would now keep in touch with me to say, okay, as soon as you set the bar, you can work on your pending status, and these are the projects. So I could pick, choose, and refuse, generally by the dollar figure, and the interest, because I was thinking also about building my career. So I selected projects in intellectual property, antitrust, and global projects, because I knew I was heading back to Jamaica. But I wanted to have this opportunity to be inside some of the most serious litigation and cases that even when I was back in Jamaica, I would say, oh yes, now it's finally, now they're in court. This is something I worked on 2, 3, 4 years in advance at the discovery stage. So I think what really we'll be looking at would be an LPO litigation manager, somebody who has schooled themselves in those different software that I mentioned before, and sort of had some sort of association with a particular jurisdiction, and is comfortable, whether you have a JD or you are trained in the UK, or you have been trained by someone who has been exposed to the ins and outs of that system, which is just a little bit more technical in terms of the expanded way e-discovery or the civil procedure rules are used upfront. We kind of just move into the litigation a little bit more, and then we ask for the list of documents, and if something is needed, then you'd make a request for information, but it's done a little earlier in first world countries. Staffing agencies. We have a lot of law students who are graduating, and of course you have the benefit of once you have your hard-earned certificate of legal education, you are ready to go. So you can now send your resume to this agency and be ready to take on projects. And paralegals. Paralegals also play a role in this. They don't need to have international certification, but what they need to be is familiar with those rules I spoke about, and it's generally relevance, privilege, that sort of a thing. I put there that the Jamaican Civil Procedure Rules, Part 28, is a great start for anyone, and also just to look online on YouTube to see how those e-discovery software would work. And lastly, as I wrap up, I know what's on everybody's mind, or the minds of many, is will it be worthwhile financially? I can tell you, in the US, it was worthwhile for me. And when I did a little research on how persons felt about the BPO sector, they were happy because it really has provided more jobs. But a lot of persons are concerned that will we be able to keep, as Jamaicans, a competitive rate? I believe there's a lot of space for the rate to be competitive in that it helps to cut the 20% that Marlon spoke about, because legal services in the US is pretty expensive. I believe that both sectors can benefit. I believe you can offer a competitive rate and it still be attractive to a graduate from the law school, and even someone who is 3, 4, 5 years at the bar and beyond. So when I did document review, the persons sitting with me were persons who just had their baby and they didn't want to be in a full-fledged, hardcore litigation practice where you'd really be coming home on the train 10 o'clock at night. They wanted a little bit more flexibility. So they're extremely qualified, but at a different place in their life. Some persons were looking to go into the banking sector as lawyers, and so they wanted to get on some kind of projects where they were seeing things go wrong in banking and how they could be fixed. They wanted that global perspective. And shortly after, a year or two, they would be off temporary projects, that's what it's called, temporary projects, and on to their full-time job. So there was no stigma attached to it, like, oh my gosh, you're doing temporary work, what's the problem? It was more a strategic part of your strategic plan after law school. And I would love for this opportunity to be here for all Jamaican law students who I know, many have spoken to me, and they're like, oh my God, I wish I'd started this 10 years ago because there's now so many lawyers. Will I be able to find a job? I believe this is a great opportunity for Jamaican law students to really be able to get a global perspective. Maybe you'll change your mind and do your master's somewhere else and get more foreign training or something like that. But it will give you, I believe it will energize the sector and give you a fresh perspective. So I hope I've been of assistance.
All right, so I must say this morning, I'm extremely happy. I'm very excited to be a part of change, a changing environment. An environment which will see the trajectory of the legal arena becoming completely different. And sometimes we resist change. We resist change because we think it is something that is difficult to do. We resist it because we have a lack of a belief system. We also resist change because we say to ourselves, I have been doing this thing this way, and I will continue to do it. And so I know that as attorneys, we tell ourselves we go to law school to get an education. And what we have got that education to do is to practice. And practice we will, but what we have in mind is a traditional way of doing business, a traditional way of doing the law. But I must say to you that change is something to be embraced. Barack Obama went on that agenda of change, and he became the president of the United States of America. So if you look within the context before I start, we need to address our minds to getting to a stage in our career that we want to embrace this change. Otherwise, whatever it is we are saying to you here today will be of no significance. Because whether we want to accept this or not, what really is this business of legal process outsourcing? We are using technology, we are using people, and we are using a process. So it's really a fusion of technology, people, and process. Gone are the days when a young lawyer left law school and you have to go and do some mundane stuff in a law firm. Gone are those days. Gone are the days when you get up in an office, even as a senior person, and you twiddle your thumbs because there's nothing to do or you do not have much business inside there. Gone are those days. I'm here to say to you that the legal process outsource industry has heralded a change, both for graduates and for senior lawyers, law firms. Law firms, I'm going to speak to you particularly at this point in time, because the fact that I was asked to speak based on the fact that I have set up a legal process outsourcing firm means, and where JAMPRO 2 is trying to head, and this government, where they're trying to head, is in fact for entities to establish legal process outsourcing centers apart from operating simply from your home, or you need to see it as a business in itself, in the same way that the BPO sector has really mushroomed, blossomed into a huge business. And I see that happening in Jamaica within a very short period of time. We're in a global space, and the reasons given for this business doing so well in India, in all of those other places, is simply because of the matter of globalization and people needing to get their work done elsewhere at a cheaper cost. The demand is also there because people are talking about efficiencies of scale. Where the LPO is concerned, people for some type of matters can give their matters to a firm overnight and have it in their hands the next morning because there's no time limit. You know, we go to work at the law firm 8:30 in the morning and we finish at 5 or at 6 or at 7 if you're going overtime and all of that. This business has no time limit. Depending on the client you're working for, you may find that your operation is going 24/7. In Jamaica, we need to get there. We need to get there because if you look at our economy cannot be sustained on a system where services such as legal services are simply given within some long periods of time. Otherwise, entities are going to be missing the boat. The global market space is saying, we need it now. We need it yesterday, day before yesterday. And that is what the LPO service can do. With the development of the internet technology, what you find, a lot of things can happen at the same time. So in our law offices, we use regular windows and little things like that. When you get to the LPO, your cost is going to be defined by the amount of technology that you put in there. Because this technology is going to be helping you to do a number of the things in a very fast manner, quickly, so that you can get them out of there. You have increased automation of legal functions. Again, technology is going to help you to do that. And of course, you have information security. So with that improvement in information security, what you have is that whole business where people were concerned because of lack of confidentiality and all of that, that is now gone through the window. So demand for this service gets greater because there's now a greater level of confidence. New technological tools is causing that. You have accessibility, of course, to outside talent. You have round-the-clock availability, as I've said, and the ability to cut back other operations. That is what companies are looking for. I am asked to add to the question, is this LPO opportunity perfect? It is not perfect, because to say it is perfect would be like my saying to you, I never lie. At some point in our lives, what happens? Those little white lies come, right? So for us to now say that the LPO thing is perfect is akin to that. because, of course, we have some obstacles. We have lack of awareness. We have information security concerns. We have research and document review dominating the effective work. We have outsourcing requiring updates such as technology, mindset, and culture. So all of those things are barriers in the Jamaican market space to this business of legal process outsourcing. But I'm here to tell you that this opportunity is really real. It is real and that the investment is worth it. If you have law firms and other LPO providers earning up to it is estimated they earn up to $40 billion. It seems to me that since we don't want to go along the broke side, what we need to do is to align ourselves with some of those entities so that what happens? A little of the $40 billion will come down to us. True or false? Right. So guess what? I have chosen to do what? I don't want to go on the broke side, so I have chosen to align myself with entities that are along the path of going towards that $40 billion that they are talking about. I'm not there, but I'm saying I have started, right? And when you're doing a race, Usain Bolt years ago when he was in Falmouth from shared content Trelawney, what happened? Nobody even knew about him. He came to the stadium and he failed. Huh? But the first time he won a race, guess what? Everybody saw him, and now the whole world has seen him. I am very confident, I am very positive that the whole world will very shortly be seeing the Jamaican marketplace as an area within which to operate in the legal process outsource space. It is just a matter of time. And we as attorneys and practitioners and corporations, we have to get on that train. You are simply gonna have to train the persons to do it. Our culture does not operate in the way that an LPO service operates. And so the first thing you have to do to get on board is to train all the work that you get to do. People are coming from law school all over the world, even the same Norman Manley Law School, but they do things differently. What you want? Standardization of output. So you may get a bulk of work, volume of work, but the output must be standardized.
This week on Home Sweet Home, we go around Jamaica to visit a few of our most historical homes, each with their own little story. Our first stop, let's find out. The Good Life, your weekly dose of information on nutrition, wellness, and fitness. Discover ways to nurture your mind, body, and spirit.
I'm Adam Stewart. This is Business Access TV, serious about business.
You're tuned in to JamPro's Legal Process Outsourcing Forum in association with Norman Manley Law School. Please stay tuned for more highlights.
Centennial Legis Solutions was born out of a talk I had with Ms. Diane Edwards from JamPro. And in fact, I had been researching on it for over 4 years before then. And when she said to me last January that this is something that JamPro is looking into trying to promote, I immediately jumped into it by February because I said, Diane had been talking about this thing. I've been researching this thing all along, and guess what? I'm happy I've gone down the road because it's good to jump in the forefront and be a pioneer in this business. And so I'm happy I've done it.
Speak to the growth of your business so far.
All right, when we started, we had a number of hiccups because we had company, connecting but not paying, simply because Jamaica was not known for LPO service. Still getting there. But then since then, what we have had is that we have had persons who now believe more in this business because of the push that JamPro has been giving it. And so I have on board local and international partners. I am so happy that JamPro and Norman Manley Law School had this seminar today, simply because no man is an island.
No man stands alone. So what we have to do to get Jamaica to be known, just as what happened in the BPO sector, we simply have to get many, many players on board so that together we have strength in numbers and the world will be able to see us much better.
How can people with law degrees who are not necessarily attorneys be a part of the market? Speak to that, please.
Okay, the general rule is that non-attorneys cannot practice law. But within the LPO sector, some of what we do is not what would be considered the practice of law. And hence, we have some people who have degrees in law would be important. So hence, we have areas that practicing lawyers would be required to do and areas that non-practicing lawyers would be able to do. So it's not as technical as they say it. What is more important is the technology behind it and the level of confidentiality that you can maintain, because that is what is important to the marketplace.
As someone with an LPO business, speak to profitability.
Well, profitability, I'm working towards it. I'm getting there because the investment is significant. But once you have contracts in place, I'm sure that we're going to be making it. The Jamaica landscape is about to change significantly because with the LPO services, what you're going to find, instead of the lower level value chain service that Jamaica gets, the LPO service offers significantly more income for Jamaica. And so I would really be delighted if many other players get on board, get this business moving in Jamaica. We are equally and even more so up to it than India in terms of our location, in terms of the language that we speak, and so on. So I just want to say I'm very happy where Jamaica is heading and the work that JAMPRO is doing, Norman Manley Law School. That's where I was trained. I'm very happy for the work that they have been doing and the fact that they have come on board with it as well.
So you attended today's forum. What are your thoughts?
It was a very interesting forum. I've been watching JAMPRO for quite a few years, and I am interested in finding out the success rates of all the entities that they support. A lot of energy goes into it, a lot of investment goes into it, and I think analysis of the ones that succeeded and the ones that failed would help them in their model in future endeavors. They have identified LPOs as a future market that we could enter and also do a lot for the country and the people, especially with worthwhile jobs. Because so often the children in schools are demotivated. They're in an environment which doesn't engender easy learning. They have problems which affect their whole studying, and yet we have so much talent and so much success. Therefore, they are quite a pool that we can call on, especially with good training. And what came out of the meeting today is, in the conversation, was that we need to change a culture so that they understand that going through school, it was a matter of scoring to pass exams, getting certificates, getting degrees. But now it's about creativity, innovation, credibility, reputation, and no mistakes. Because when you make a mistake, it's very hard to recover.
And Marlon, the audience is asking if you could come up here to make a presentation, because I want to see more of you. To provide some guidelines as to creating the perfect LPO business, if that exists.
The sliver we talked about, the sliver of that $40 million that we talked about. Thank you very much. How big that can be will be directly influenced by how much you can scale. Countries like India participate really substantially in that revenue in the market. And one of the big reasons is there are so many of them. And there are so many of the Indian population that are trained as lawyers. For Jamaica, what are we now? How big are we now? 2.7 million people. Of those, proportionately we're training a lot more lawyers than our market can absorb, but certainly not enough to power number 2 or number 3 LPO industry globally. That however, is not a factor that's limiting enough to keep us out of the space. I say that because countries like Israel, most of the outsourcing Microsoft does is to Israel. That's as a result of a number of factors, including the fact that the guy who runs eDiscovery at Microsoft is from Israel. But they do well not just with Microsoft, but with companies like Microsoft as well. And they are participating meaningfully in that revenue, $4 billion it is now, that the market is seeing. So all that to say, scale's an issue, but don't think it's an issue that should hinder our progress in the space. Rates may be an issue. If we think in US dollars, you can get services from India as low as $10 US an hour. I'll just let that soak for a second. It may be challenging for Jamaica to deliver those services at those kinds of rates. India is the outlier in that respect. So countries like South Africa or Australia also can't deliver services at those rates. So that, again, shouldn't be the reason we don't play a meaningful part in the process. On the issue of rates and cost, Velma talked about the technology. In my practice at my firm, there are certain pieces of what we do that we offer on alternative fee arrangements. So we are able to say to a client, for a fixed fee of X, you'll get the work done. You don't have to worry about the hourly billings or whether it's going to be higher or lower. X is your cost. And we're able to do that because of what we've done with the technology. So we've tossed technology at these pieces of the process that takes away the human input that's required. And so that fixed fee, the margins on that fixed fee becomes bigger and bigger and bigger as we perfect the technology, because we need less and less and less human time input in the process. So technology is a key piece of how Jamaica could think about how we compete with respect to the rates that can be offered in other places. The time zone issue, few people mentioned, I think that's actually neutral for Jamaica. Because the intention would be, I would think, to service both North America and the UK. We have strong enough ties with both of those jurisdictions to provide services to those jurisdictions successfully. For North America, we have a strength in terms of the time zone. If we're going to collaborate in the way that I know law firms there like to collaborate with their outsourced partners. For the UK, we have the advantage also of being up while they're asleep. Security and ethics was a big concern for a lot of North American and UK companies and law firms thinking about the outsourcing alternative. Security in the sense that you're sending your data overseas to these countries that have less rigid controls around data privacy and data security than your jurisdiction does. Many clients would kibosh the idea for that reason. As Velma mentioned, that's less of an issue now, given the way in which these operations can be structured, where the data actually sits in the host country, while the lawyers in the service delivery center can access that data over the internet. The ethics issue has traditionally been a big issue. Some clients are uncomfortable. We know that North American lawyers and UK lawyers are trained to behave to a certain ethical code. The regulations are similar in terms of professional regulations, and people trust that and people are comfortable with that. Not so comfortable when you go to India, where there have been examples of not so ethical behavior around things. So you're a massive telecommunications company, and you need document review. It's a highly confidential case. You send that case to your LPO provider. People begin to take pictures of certain documents, people begin to record the contact information of a CEO or a head of marketing because they know they're going to move to that place soon, and they want to be able to contact somebody to get a job. These are all things that have happened and have scared certain clients into not wanting to try the alternative depending on where it is. But LPO providers have responded to that with things like, access controls for areas in which people are working. People can't bring cell phones in. The databases they work in are locked down to read only. People can't print information from the documents they're reviewing. So where we stand today is that, at least in North America and certainly in the UK as well, the market is much more comfortable from a security and ethics perspective. So again, that shouldn't be a barrier that stops Jamaica from participating in the space.
So we were approached by JAMPRO to look at legal process outsourcing. We obviously are the strategic player in the market in that we provide vocational training for attorneys at law after they have completed their undergraduate studies. And we also have a research publication education unit, which also provides training beyond our core training of practicing as attorneys at law. So this was obviously an opportunity that we could not miss.
What would you say was the benefit of this forum for attendees, I guess specifically the graduates of your law school?
There were a mixture of persons in the audience, younger graduates, older persons who have been out for some time, looking at opportunities to be LPO providers, and also our young graduates, or the employability of our graduates is something we are concerned with. And I think the panel was able to set out a know-how, some of the risks, some of the challenges, and to explain the market so that people could better understand it. So really it was an educational forum.
In regards to some challenges that were listed by your panels, it sounded like a lot of those can be worked out if lawyers partner with businessmen or entrepreneurs in order to get it off the ground. What are your thoughts on that?
That's clearly so, that we're talking about entrepreneurs, or whatever their sets of skills and competencies coming together to provide a space in the market. One of the challenges is scale, as was said, and so it's about people coming together and providing strategic partnerships to deliver the skills.
So now you're having a forum on LPOs. What's next for Norman Manley Law School?
The Norman Manley Law School is interested in providing the training. Many of us are trained abroad. I practiced in the UK for 10 years. We have a pool of people to pull on so that we can actually train attorneys in the kind of practices that will be required from the firms from the UK, the firms from the US. And so we provide the base training, pull in the talent from abroad. So we're looking at providing training so that our graduates can take up the opportunities.
Special thank you to JAMPRO in association with Norman Manley Law School for putting on an informative session. I hope you've enjoyed the coverage of the Legal Process Outsourcing Forum. I've been your host, Amita Prasadweb, and thank you for tuning in to Business Access TV, serious about business.
This is Solomon Sharp, CEO Main Event Entertainment Group. You're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
It's arguably the most significant invention to come out of Jamaica in the last 2 decades. A medical doctor, a mechanical engineer, and a computer scientist used technology to develop a way to train heart surgeons across the globe more efficiently. The heart simulator developed at the UWMONA is now being used by several universities across the world to train surgeons. Professor Daniel Kaur, who worked on the project, says after shelving the first prototype and moving on to other projects, he and the other inventors involved received a call that would change everything.
So in late 2007, we hear from Dr. Richard Fines, who was at the time chairman of the American Board of Thoracic Surgery. He had seen a video that had been released along with a paper that we had published And in the video, we were just showing a small clip of what the heart looked like while, in operation, in use. And he wrote to Dr. Ramphal, basically did a little internet search, tried to find him, sort of located an email address for him at UWI, by which time he had already left UWI, and wrote him and said, I saw this video, is it real? Because if that's real, I'd love to come to UWI to see it, and would you be willing to set it up for us, because we are examining possible simulation environment scenarios for the cardiac surgery training. And this is something that we would like to sort of take a look at just to see what it can do and whether it's good for us.
After some persuasion, the team decided to go to the University of North Carolina to set up the prototype.
First time set up, right? So all these prominent heart surgeons had just come in to take a look at what's going on. And everybody was kind of blown away at just how realistic the heart beating was, and how realistic the whole environment was. So they took out the video footage and took that to their annual meeting that year at the Society of Thoracic Surgeons. And with that video at that meeting, just sort of, caught the eye of everybody who was at that symposium that year. And that ended up getting us invited to technology symposium for cardiothoracic surgery. And we got re-invited year after year.
Soon after that, the UWI Mona developed heart simulator was a sought-after tool when it came to training heart surgeons.
It then got to a point where other places wanted one. They kept saying, how can we get one of these at our institution? So it was kind of around that time, that was started around 2009, that we started talking about how to get multiple ones of these. And by around 2011, we'd actually built them. So in that interim, we had negotiations, sort of thought about how to sort of make it a little more structured and sort of help ourselves get to the point where we could be talking to people who might want a license.
The simulator then ended up in some of the top medical schools in North America, revolutionizing the way heart surgeons were being trained.
Harvard's Mass General Hospital, University of Rochester, there is a University of North Carolina, Johns Hopkins, Vanderbilt, Mayo Clinic, University of Washington, and Stanford.
This was the first time ever heart surgeons in training were being exposed to real-life circumstances.
Kind of what I mentioned before, where you might have the pig's heart in a bowl, or I suppose if you're working with a cadaver, which is going to be realistic, but it's a dead person, but nothing where the heart is, or actually a live pig. That is the closest that you could come if you wanted to get a full-blown operating room scenario where you are standing around, there's a apparently living, beating heart, and you have to give the right instructions, and you have somebody controlling a pump, somebody controlling anesthesia, and then you have your partner in front of you, you're supposed to be giving the right instructions, and you're learning not just the specific procedures, but also the management of your team. The only way you could really reconstruct that without having a real patient on the table was a live pig. That was the closest you could come. So what our simulator was providing these guys with was a context in which they could reconstruct any scenario they wanted, when they wanted, at the time they wanted. So from the purpose of teaching, if today's lesson was to teach you something that hardly ever happens, they could make sure it's scheduled what's going to happen because you could set the simulator up to deliver that. So for them, that was a great opportunity to change how training in cardiac surgery could work, right? And at the same time, you're getting this high fidelity model, right? So you're not putting any patients at risk. You have this model that looks real. It bleeds when you cut it. It has a pressure. It shows you a computer trace that looks like it's a real trace on a monitor. So for all intents and purposes, just because you set it up, it's not real. But for all intents and purposes, it looks like a patient on the table.
The heart simulator has not only used technology to totally revolutionize the way heart surgeons are trained, but it is also helping to better equip surgeons to deal with real-life situations in real time.
There are some well-rehearsed procedures, as in over time, they've developed some procedures to respond to a particular kind of emergency. But if you as a resident only get trained via the operating room, then the only scenarios that you become familiar with are the ones that you see. Now, of course, if you see 100 cases, 200 cases, then they start thinking, okay, you're ready, you're competent, you can go, and you are going to be certified as capable of practice on your own. But what if the scenario that we're worried about isn't one that occurs so frequently? It might be 1 in 1,000 cases, it might be 1 in 2,000 cases. Those are still potentially life-threatening. You still want somebody who's gonna now become an attending to know how to deal with them. And in the old situation, before our simulator, the only way they would have really gotten that exposure is through a textbook or somebody telling them, if you ever encounter this, this is what you're supposed to do. So it's kind of a hypothetical, and the response is really a kind of theoretical response, or at least a hypothetical one anyway. With a simulator, we can now say, okay, next week's lesson is going to be how you deal with this. And I can tell you what you must do, and I can set up the simulator to make that emergency occur. So while you're doing your thing, suddenly something happens and you say, what's going on? And it's for you to A, recognize that there's that emergency going on, and then B, act appropriately. So you can actually now practice that, which is not something that you could have done easier before.
The heart simulator is the first UE patent to be commercialized, and with the recent commitment from Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark to pump more government resources into research and development, it is hoped that more patented inventions coming out of the University of the West Indies can be commercialized.
My name is Herbert Chung, Executive Chairman, Co-Founder, Honeybone 1982 Limited. You're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
On Point is brought to you by Dargin Global.
Good evening. Welcome to On Point. I'm your host, Dennis Chung. I must apologize for Patria K, who unavoidably could not be with us here today. Before we get into the meat of the matter, I just want to make a few comments on a few things. This year is an election year in many respects. I mean, not just here in Jamaica, but overseas in the United States, we've been seeing a lot of the political turmoil happening there. They just came out of impeachment hearings, and now the voting is taking place for the Democratic presidential aspirant. And what is showing is a lot of flaws in the politics and the electoral system, which people would normally say is for countries like Jamaica, but it is very evident in the United States. Here on the local front, we see it charging up also, where we're starting the budget debate, which this week has opened. We expect going into an election year that this budget is going to be used to sort of butter up the electorate. But very importantly also, we've seen where a lot of positions are being taken. We saw that Carrie Douglas, for example, one of the more prominent councillors in the PNP, has crossed the floor. We see the election machinery heating up on both fronts, on both parties. And what we're hoping for, and this is what I really want to discuss, is that the fever, the election fever, does not derail us. We've come far away from 2013 in terms of our economic prosperity. And we want to ensure that the election does not put a stop to that, particularly given that in this year we expect the global economy to slow down, and also the external shocks of things like the coronavirus. So during the show, we'll be discussing this novel coronavirus and how it has originated out of China and how it is impacting the local scene. But first, let's take a look back at some of the top business stories of the week.
At number 5, a song so catchy it went viral. Now the South Korean producers of the tune Baby Shark are having their day in court. They're being sued by entertainer Johnny Only, who says he came up with his version of the song in 2011. But the South Korean producers say they based their song on a popular campfire tune. The case has been handed over to a copyright commission in South Korea to decide. At number 4, a severe drought in central Chile is entering its 10th year. This is the country's longest ever dry spell, which has left animals dead, many reservoirs dry, and almost 500,000 people without direct access to water for drinking and domestic use. At number 3, the Statistical Institute of Jamaica Statin is now conducting the first ever global services sector survey. Statin says JAMPRO commissioned the survey in response to the growing demands for actionable empirical information regarding the global services sector, which includes business process outsourcing. The study is intended to produce a characterization of firms and identify the segments in which they operate, capture information on capital expenditure and main constraints to growth, and identify the main characteristics of the workforce, including the numbers of workers, average salaries, and the extent of internal and external on-the-job training. At number 2, the world's largest mobile phone showcase, Mobile World Congress, has been cancelled over coronavirus concerns. The event organizers say it had become impossible for the event to go ahead in Barcelona. Earlier this week, several high-profile exhibitors pulled out of the annual event, citing coronavirus fears. But Spain's health minister has urged people to remain calm, saying they should trust in the Spanish health system and take decisions based on scientific evidence. The Mobile World Congress was due to be held in Barcelona from February 24 to 27. More than 100,000 people usually attend the annual event, about 6,000 of whom travel from China. At number 1, the government plans to spend $852.7 billion during the 2020-2021 fiscal year. $778.4 billion has been allocated for recurrent expenses and $74.2 billion for capital development projects. Details of the projections are outlined in the estimates of expenditure tabled in the House of Representatives on Tuesday by Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark. The Ministry of Finance and the Public Service gets the largest share of the budget, with $403 billion for recurrent expenses and $7.9 billion for capital expenditure. A large portion of the sum will go towards meeting Jamaica's debt obligations.
And when we come back, we're looking at the coronavirus, or the novel coronavirus, and what it means for trade and business locally. Stay with us right here on Point.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
Outsourced finance and accounting service. Growing companies face a challenge. For you to stay focused on building your business, you need solid financial management with a dependable accounting function, a resource you may not have in-house. That's where we come in. Dodgen Global provides startups and other businesses with outsourced accounting and finance solutions on a fixed fee basis. No matter what your size or fundraising status, we can tailor our services to fit your needs at every stage of your company's life cycle. Whether you want to add expertise to your existing team or completely outsource your accounting and finance functions, we offer reliable and economical options, including accounting system installations and upgrades, from simple to complex, help establishing preferred banking, legal, payroll, benefits, and HR relationships, paperless online bill payment and bookkeeping, financial reporting and advice for management and investors, financial statement audit management, sales tax compliance. Our team can help you make smarter, more effective decisions. Let's have a conversation. Contact us at email info@dodgen.global. Website https://dodgen.global.
Welcome back to On Point. The outbreak of the novel coronavirus is causing fear and panic around the globe. It started in the province of Wuhan in China and has been causing some amount of disruption in global trade and production. Here's more on the new virus and its impact on trade.
The novel coronavirus has been spreading around the world, causing much fear and anxiety. The new strain of the virus originated in China's Wuhan province and has already resulted in tens of thousands of infections and hundreds of deaths. It's estimated that some 60,000 persons in China are suspected to have the virus, while about 1,100 have died. Several countries have evacuated their citizens from China, while others, like Jamaica, have chosen to put in place travel restrictions. As it relates to commerce, the scope of the impact on the global economy is yet to be fully determined. However, with 40% of air and land transportation grounded in mainland China and production halted for many major corporations, analysts say the economic impact could be devastating.
And joining us now to talk about the impact of this virus through local lens is the president of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, Mr. Richard Pandue. Welcome to On Point.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm glad to be here.
Well, you are the man to speak about this thing because you are in charge of manufacturing and export.
Correct.
The economy has seen 19 consecutive quarters of growth, and there has been many chatter over the period as to what would cause growth to slow, but this one looks like it.
Yeah,
looks like it can have a serious impact.
At the end of the day, Jamaica is an open economy, and we're highly vulnerable to external shocks, and this is an external shock.
Yeah.
The extent of it is still to be determined because there are so many moving parts on this. Now, when you watch what's happening in the global arena, every day you're getting new information, new news. But funny enough, this shock could be interesting because it could be positive and negative in some aspects.
Positive? Why say positive?
Well, you know, I mean, if Jamaicans were to step back and look at what has happened to us over the last 6 years with the whole fiscal stability and etc., a big part of the equation was the drop in world oil price.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people forget that part of the equation. And
so
with what's happening in China with the coronavirus, there's now a glut of oil again in the world market because China is such a big user of all these commodities. The oil price is dropping again. And actually went below $50 at one point yesterday on Monday. So this will have a knock-on positive effect on the Jamaican economy. So, and many of the commodities are now trending down because China, I mean, with what, over 15% of the world global GDP, huge consumer of goods. The minute they slow down, glut comes in the arena. And Jamaica, which is a highly import-dependent economy, stands to benefit from some of that. You know, that's the positive side of it. I mean, if they could take such an angle on the corona.
No, I mean, I never really thought about that angle, Richard, but you're right, because oil imports is really what holds us to the fire if the prices go up.
No, absolutely, that's one of the biggest risks to Jamaica economy, the price of oil, which is why we have so much effort has been made to diversify the energy base.
Yes.
But a lot of people keep forgetting that part of the equation. So I expect that to have a knock-on effect that is reduce our cost of energy, our cost of transportation. It could actually lead to a lowering of the input costs in the economy. That's the
positive.
That's the positive side.
Yeah.
On the negative side, I mean, on the negative side, you know, China is such a huge part of the value, supply chain, But Jamaica, though, I mean, while we import from China in terms of raw material and equipment, is okay, but it's not phenomenal. I mean, that way, most manufacturers I've spoken to have alternative suppliers, have alternative countries and suppliers to source from. So we don't see that at this stage being a big risk.
provided the virus remains predominantly based in China. If it spreads to Europe and US now, then it's a whole different ball game. But as it is right now, being focused in China, we don't see a major supply risk. In terms of export, China only accounts for 2% of Jamaica total export. I mean, you know, so it's
So
the
again,
risk.
it's not a big impact.
It's not a big impact. I mean, it's we have seen some unfortunate fallout for the lobster industry, for live lobster. B&D trawls have come out and
Because we
reinforced.
do export a lot of lobster to China, eh?
In recent times.
Right.
Live lobster is what's been affected because the restaurants are closed, people are going out. Frozen lobster can still go. But I mean, in the context of our overall economy, it's not a big risk. So that's what it's looking like.
On the negative side though, I mean, the impact is really, if we were to get a case here and we don't handle it properly, then the tourism impact could be great, eh?
The impact of coronavirus is going to be very dependent on how the government handle it.
Right.
If the government comes out with a lot of transparency and confidence and showing that they have a handle on the situation, it will do a lot to pacify any fear and self-fulfilling prophecy effect, you know what I mean? If we come out and look like we're not handling it properly, they're going to set off panic because on top of the coronavirus, Jamaica has been going through a series of health challenges. You know?
The dengue.
And we have dengue still in the, I mean, dengue has taken second place, coronavirus, but dengue is still very much here. Our health system is under stress. And you know, we have so many similar symptoms to coronavirus. You have hog flu, whatever. So that has to be handled very carefully. And I mean, I saw a classic case in Singapore where the government has come out very clearly, very forthrightly, telling people, you know, wash your hands. Just we have this under control. You just do what you have to do, and just make sure we don't have panic and don't create a fear in the society. But we mustn't try to PR it away. Let's be very transparent and let's be very practical and pragmatic as we go about it.
But the tendency of our government, though, Richard, has always been to PR things away. I mean, I remember with the Chick-V, that was handled very poorly. The recent dengue one could argue was not handled well either, right? It wasn't very transparent. So what are your views? Do you have any confidence that they'll handle this one differently?
I remember Chick-V, I was living in Panama at the time, I wasn't in Jamaica, and I remember when I saw it happening in Central America and in Dom Rep, and then I'd be asking everybody in Jamaica, you see this thing coming? And nobody reacted, and there was no movement. We waited too late to react, and then you suddenly you're on the back foot all the time. In the case of dengue, etc., I mean, I think the Ministry of Health is doing a really good job generally on communication. You know, they're trying to communicate, they're trying to get the nation moving.
But initially there was a denial of
that's the instinct is, it appears generally in our society is to deny, hope it goes away, but then it doesn't go away, and then you start. And then we're waiting for these statistics from Global Health Organization. I think we should be reacting more proactively. I don't need to wait for the number to reach 10,000 deaths in China to react to Jamaica. Because we're so vulnerable, we need to escalate our threat level higher, and if anything, take it down. We shouldn't be waiting. We don't have the luxury of waiting with our small population and our, I mean, if our tourism industry get hit, I mean, my God.
We have a problem.
We have a problem. So I agree with you that in the past, our reaction has been we've been very reactive. I think with denial, I think this one, we can't do it though. I think it's important to come out strong, because when the government reacts is important because it influences how consumers react. We can influence how people react.
Although what I said, Richard, is that the Chick-V wasn't handled properly, and we said the dengue wasn't handled properly. But I think the government reaction when Ferguson was there at the time to the Ebola was handled well though.
Honestly, I'm not really familiar. I wasn't in Jamaica much at that time, so I don't remember all the details. But I think we have the capacity within our people to react properly. I think that in a case like the coronavirus, etc., this has to take a bipartisan and a total ownership approach, because this is us protecting Jamaica. It's not, it's not going to affect green or orange differently. And any fallout in this economy going to affect all of us. So I really believe that is very important, and businesses need to need to move quickly. Some companies I've known have already escalated the threat level. So it's like a storm coming, and so it's like a hurricane warning at this stage. So they start sensitizing their employees. They start looking which employees can operate remotely. They start looking at how can they improve our raw material supply. so that if anything were to happen, you have enough stock to carry over for X period of time. And these are things that we need to start putting in place now. We need to start preparing for the worst. And if it does happen, thank God. But if it happens, at least we are prepared. We can't wait.
So has the JMEA actually done any communication advising members how they should prepare and all of that and deal with? So
we're having a board meeting this week, and the idea is to then send out a communique to our membership. Already at the board and director level, we have communicated, and as I said, we have indicated that companies should escalate the threat level within the organization to a yellow, at least from meaning a warning, getting ready stage. Yeah. And the biggest potential impact with CHIC-V, let's take CHIC-V. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize the cost to the economy because of the productivity decline when employees just couldn't come to work. They were sick. Yeah, there are companies reporting more than 50% absenteeism. In a manufacturing environment, a lot of it shift operation, this is a big risk we face. So we need to start looking now, how do we protect our most important asset, our people? Because they don't come to work, we're doing the production.
So what would, I mean, a lot of the people in the workplace actually live in conditions that are not conducive to a healthy environment.
A very communal setting.
A very communal setting, multiple people in bedrooms, you know, not to talk about in a house, the amount of persons, even children, you know, are not fully protected. So how do we deal with this, and what is your advice to companies? Because at the end of the day, it's their workers and their productivity.
Right. And so now, every worker you have to see the family behind them, because everything will impact. So we have to be educating our staff to make sure that they're educating their families at home about the necessary hygiene, the hygienic things you have to do. How can we help them to be better prepared? Because now it makes sense to invest in health in that, you know. Because, you know, do you need sanitizer at home? Can we, we're saying to people, we are going to help you get those things into your home. Because if the home is not healthy, the employee won't be healthy, and then you get a, you know, effect right through the system. So it's a lot of this is going to be around education, because the coronavirus in and of itself can be managed. I mean, what is not managed when you start having people not looking after themselves, spreading it, because it's very contagious. When you look at it based on the medical things, even from our own medical association, it suggests that it can be managed if we take the right precautions.
But then we have, as you said, the issue here of the type of communities we have. And you know, one of the things I always say to people, even with garbage collection and policing, one of the biggest issues that we have
is access.
Is access to these communities and the way these communities are structured. And I don't think we understand how much the issue of informal settlements has affected our country and our progress.
And I agree with you, and I mean, and also the way we socialize. You know? I mean, when you go out there to Jamaica and say, listen, ease up off the dance and the crowd gathering for X period of time, people will come out and say, boy, you impact for our business and you fight against small money when you're actually looking to protect. You know, it's a bigger picture you have to take now. So, you know, the discipline that exhibits in China to lock off towns and to get people to stay home or whatever, it's going to be
we don't have it.
We're going to be a real challenge here. And that to me is one of the concerns, which is why we have to start from now to put almost a lot of moral pressure on people, more to say, listen guys, we're going to have to take some short-term hit to protect the economy and our people for the longer term, medium to long term. And that's my concern, our lack of discipline in that regard.
Yeah, and I'm happy you raised that point, Richard, because it's a serious problem. I mean, you hear stories of health workers turning up to inspect people's yards for mosquito breeding, and they're abused, eh?
I'm being stoned.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that's just beyond comprehension. I mean, like, I don't know what kind of level of ignorance it have to take a man. Somebody's coming to help protect you from an illness, and you're chasing them. I don't know if we're missing something in the equation, because people don't behave. We assume people don't behave irrationally without a purpose, but I cannot begin to understand what the purpose could be.
It's a bigger picture, Richard, and we're going past Corona thing now. We're talking about this indiscipline thing. Because I always maintain that the breakdown of what we're seeing in society in terms of the economy and everything comes back to discipline and order.
It's order.
So
you always talk about social order.
Yeah. If we don't address the social order issue, then we're really way behind the 8 ball. Eh?
No, and we are way behind the 8 ball. I mean, it's ironic that we're now putting so much, we're spending more money on security than ever, national security, than many of us can remember in our lifetime.
And all in the business, in your businesses also. Eh?
Privately, publicly, we're spending it. It's sucking out 5% of our GDP estimated per year. The GDP we're looking to aspire to is right here, just in the insecurity issue. And I mean, a lot of it comes down to this lack of social order and disorder, which comes back down probably to the underinvestment. We didn't have the fiscal space, and we're underinvested in health, education, and security. Chickens coming home to roost now. But I mean, I really believe that we cannot continue to expect a society to show economic development. Forget about activity now, just true development, if we're going to build it on a base of indiscipline. It just doesn't work.
But then, does it help that when a health crisis arises, for example, that whichever party is in opposition always try to make it look like it is the fault of the government? You know, you understand what I'm saying? And when you look in Parliament at how they behave, we're really not setting good examples for the society.
Well, in our political system, the difference between first and second prize is huge. If you're not the government, you're almost not, I mean, in many ways, you've lost a lot of your relevance, you know? And the fact is that we're going to have to find a way. This coronavirus thing is bigger than a party, but so is the insecurity issue, so is the crime issue. But yet still we always find a way to make it green or orange. We have to find out, and funny enough, the younger set of leaders, generations coming up, seem to be falling into the same mode.
Richard, hold that thought. Let's take a break. All right. And when we come back, we continue more with this interesting discussion.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
Cameo brings the creative industries to life, highlighting creatives in different fields each week. Art.
My life turns art. I breathe, I eat art.
Fashion. Food.
Without a customer, we're nothing but four walls.
Music. Film. Cameo, only on Business Access TV.
This week on Home Sweet Home, we go around Jamaica to visit a few of our most historical homes, each with their own little story. Our first stop, let's find out.
Dodge & Global offers a CPA scholarship program to team members who join our team. A career in accountancy at Dodge & Global is a great choice and can offer you excellent job prospects. We believe that an accounting education is the greatest gift you can give yourself or anyone else. Few gifts make as significant an impact as the gift of an accountancy education with a job. It's a contribution that lasts a lifetime in the form of learning, opportunity, and success. Join our team and get the opportunity to be part of our CPA scholarship program. This scholarships awards program will be administered by the HR department of Dodge & Global. Requirements: first degree in accounting, employed at Dodge & Global, willing to pursue the CPA examination. Here's how to apply. Submit application to Staff Accountant, Dodge & Global. Email sa@dodgen.com.
Welcome back to On Point. We're discussing the issue of the coronavirus and its impact on the economy and other issues with the president of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, Mr. Richard Panduri. Richard, welcome back. Before the break, you were getting on to another possible impact of the virus on manufacturing.
Right, so I mean, as it is right now, the immediate impact we have seen when we speak to our membership is that there's been a delay in shipments. So already our suppliers out of China, for example, the ones that are taking from there, have indicated that lead time should be doubled because they're only returning to work now after extended Lunar New Year holiday. And they're also suggesting that there'll be an increase in price because they're having difficulty getting labor out, more expensive. So that's one aspect of it. But that's one aspect. In terms of the one thing that I want to mention too is that on the shipping, a lot of our goods come in by containers, obviously. A lot of containers are now being increasingly seeing the accumulation in China.
Right.
So you can find the supply generally, trade movement is going to begin to slow down longer this thing lasts. And in terms of the economy, manufacturers are big and exporters are a big part of the economy. We depend on our consumers buying.
Yeah.
So I mean, and our consumers depend on the economy being active. You look at the cruise ship situation. It's 3 ships have been turned back in the Caribbean so far. One for gastroenteritis, which I don't know if in the past, if Corona was here right now, the probably would have stopped them. But that's 2 million visitors per year in Jamaica, right? But so, you know, the people curtailing their travel and also automatically curtailing consumption, the tourists and local people, is going to have an impact on demand. Consumption and demand for our companies. So that could have a dampening effect on production. So, I mean, the way I see it, I mean, over time, the risk increase that you're going to see a further contraction in production. And, but we have to manage it very carefully. But so we're seeing some risk and we definitely have to manage it. But again, this depends though on, as a country, how we proactively react, because we have to start dealing with this from now.
You talk about that, Richard, but there are a few ways also that, apart from the airport, because people have been coming in, they've quarantined, they've isolated 2 people and quarantined others. Inevitably, if you sit on an aircraft with somebody who have it, most of the people might get it, or is a possibility. That's a good amount.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the physical interaction and how quickly you go and wash your hands and so forth. I mean, it's so it depends a lot, but you can't stop. We have the ports. We have this week alone, just going to in terms of entry. Jamaica has dozens of illegal ports right around this country, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So people are entering and leaving, not only at the airport and at the ports that we know. So we have many points.
And what is being done about that? I mean, is there any monitoring happening of these illegal ports? The other issues that someone raised an issue with me today, that are we, the people like the policemen out there, the health workers, people who have, the government people who have to interact with the public, we're not issuing any protective gear to them?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, some of these discussions, I guess, I have to leave with the health officials. But according to now, what the news you're getting is that the mask itself is not a deterrent.
Right.
It's really the activity associated with the hygienic conditions, etc. So I don't know what I hope there have been issued with is hand sanitizers and being given opportunity to keep.
But I doubt they're giving them things to them.
Yeah, no, I have our doubts. I mean, maybe by this meeting we're appealing to the relevant authorities to make sure they have it. We should be appealing to the hierarchy of the police, the military, the nurses, etc., to make sure they have it. I mean, you can imagine the health workers, how scared they must be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there are countries like Hong Kong who their health sector went on strike until they shut down the border.
Yeah.
So you look at the men and women out there in essential services making sacrifice every day. And we see them and we forget the sacrifices they're making and their families are making.
Yeah.
I think we should do everything to make sure we protect them.
Yeah. The other thing is that at the airports, I mean, are we doing enough to address it? I mean, we're in a sort of chicken and egg situation because we depend so much on the flights coming in, but if we hear that there's someone possibly with the virus on board, would we be willing to turn back that aircraft?
Well, it's a tough one in the days. I mean, you put yourself, being in government is not an easy thing. The government are trying to manage trying to manage the economy and trying to manage all the risk associated other things, and sometimes you have to make a decision that impact one. The truth is, at this point, the risk to country trumps any other decision. If a plane were to come here, there's a risk of somebody on board, we should not allow it. We should refuel it and turn it back.
And that is a policy. I think those positions the government should state up front as part of the transparency that, listen, this is our position, eh?
Yeah, because I mean, it's, you know, as even when the Chinese came that were turned back, you kind of wonder, they came off here, turned them back, but there are people on that plane too, you know? How does that work? Are we tracking them to make sure everything is fine? And we don't have resources, huh? We don't have the technology. You know, there's a nurse at the airport literally saying, Dennis, what's your name, what's your address? You have any symptoms? They're relying on you, and then you leave, right? There's no, now we can tracking them to make sure things are working out. So I am concerned about our border situation. The good thing is that in this side of the world so far, though, in the western side, the cases have been minimal. I mean, and hopefully it will continue to be so, because that's a risk. The other risk to our economy is the U.S. If anything were to happen in the U.S.,
then we'll have a huge
and there's
problem.
a contraction in their economy, that's going to have a massive knock-on effect on our remittance, etc. So, you know, fingers crossed that, you know, the U.S. doesn't suffer, and fingers crossed that our authorities and all of us will do what is right to make sure we protect what we have now. But I mean, the thing with Jamaica, though, sometimes we think that it can't happen to us. And we continue to behave in a very, you know, in a way that it doesn't make sense.
You talk about that, Richard. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we could have a double whammy this year, because already the global economy was projected to start declining this year.
Right. A 0.3% decline.
And then if you have on top of that the impact of the virus, right? And we don't know what's going to happen geopolitically also, because the Middle East situation is not yet dealt with.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
So this year can be a rough year.
This year I start with a bang. It's almost frightening. It feels like we've done a whole year in January alone. But we have the situation. The global economy is definitely going to be declining this year. The one thing I can say though, Jamaica economy seems to have always behaved differently from what's happening in the global arena. And we're still small, we're a very small economy, so you're hoping that the effect, I mean, we're on a trajectory that I believe, what are two things that are risk for us? The tourism and remittances. Those are the big earners for us at this point in time. The manufacturing base, although important, and it's 8.5% of GDP, grew last year, is still small, right? And I mean, it needs to grow. Export is insufficient. So, you know, but we have a lot of imports. So in many ways, it's an opportunity for us to step back and say, how do we ensure the security of our country? I was in Israel a year and a half ago, and we met with one of the ministers there, and he said, you know what? When people talk about Israel and security, they assume it's our armed force and whatever.
But it's food.
You know, he said security is about securing our people, education, our water supply, our food supply. Security involves every aspect.
But on that aspect, you talk about security in terms of national security, food security, water. We haven't been able to deal with those things in decades, eh?
And getting worse, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, I heard Mark Barnett, the CEO for NWC, saying that we're losing maybe as much as 50% of the water in transmission.
Well, it was 70% at one point. So
yes, I mean, but when you think about what that means in a country where water, as a manufacturer, water is now one of my highest risks. Can you believe that? Based on what happened last year.
In a country like Jamaica,
in a country like Jamaica, water supply is now one of our highest risks. I mean, it's incredible. Land of wood, we can't take out the water, just pure wood. So we need to kind of fix some things that are going, and when times are good or okay, we get complacent. And I think that what's happening with Jamaica now, with the entrenchment of the stabilization process, and you know, a lot of indicators going in the right direction, kudos to, you know, successive government. But it's an opportunity for us to work, because we're so far behind everybody else that we shouldn't be celebrating too much. We should be saying, these are positives, how do we make it even better?
But Richard, and I'm glad you brought that up about the complacency, because when the economy started moving, I was always saying to people, listen, let's take advantage right now, because the time to save is when you're earning, eh?
Right.
You can't save when you're not earning, right? But we haven't addressed the fundamental issues in the economy. We talk about the law and order issue, which is fundamental, right? Things like a good public transportation system, which will help you with your productivity and reduce your oil imports and all of that. Coming out of the 2013 IMF agreement, one of the critical things to look at was labor market reform. That has not been dealt with yet.
Right.
So we're coming out of a period of growth without addressing the things that would have caused us to grow more. Eh?
Right, and the term they use globally is about growth should be sustainable and resilient.
Yeah.
And I mean, are we creating sustainable and resilient growth at this point in time? I don't think the answer is a positive at this point.
Right.
We're having a lot of economic activity. We're having almost full employment of people now in terms of highest employment figure, etc. But it doesn't feel like it's resilient and sustainable at this stage. And one of the issues that we need to address, as I mentioned, the social order, is around the education of our people. 70% of Jamaicans do not have any post-secondary school certification, zero. 15% of the workforce have certification. It means your productivity is at the lowest end. It means that we're at the lowest end of the value chain. And these are things, it impacts the way we interface with each other. I think some of the violence you see and some of those, man does a kill one because they have two quarrel. I think it's a level of ignorance and just inability to express and to communicate and to have the discussion. So I think everything stems back. I think if we had to pick something, I don't like, when I hear people talk about look how much cranes you see, how much cars are imported, we have to look at our people. Our people is our most important resource. And people say that, but they don't understand what it means. Every youth, every man, every woman out there, you have to look at this is a genuine resource for Jamaica. How do we make them better? Even if they're going to move to somewhere else to work, it's an export. Our remittance is 40% of our income. But I just believe that we just need to start looking at people differently. And I mean, we should not be losing 1,000 of our most precious resource every year.
Every year, to murder.
To murder. It don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. I mean, everything comes back. We're talking about coronavirus, but everything comes back to discipline, education, ability to react and to be responsive in a proper way. And that is what you lack in Jamaica. Because you look and you know we have the capacity. And when we go abroad, everywhere you go, we have two Jamaicans that are the best workers ever. Look at the places Jamaica have risen to the world. Look at how we have influenced the world. But you're still in our own yard.
We can't do it.
We can't do it.
Which speaks to the environment that you're in.
The environment is not enabling us to be the best people we can be.
But and that is an issue also why the manufacturing sector can't grow too, eh?
No, the manufacturing sector is anemic. I mean, it's while we have grown last year was a good year in terms of growth relative to other industries. We grew 4.9%, is what 81,000 people employed, second highest taxpayer in the country. But it feels like it should be a lot more. I believe the GDP, our contribution to GDP should be in the range of 12 to 14%. We should be looking at 130,000 people employed in industry because the manufacturing sector is where you tend to get the middle class coming from.
Right.
Don't forget, in Jamaica, only 13% of our population is in the middle class. 78% is in the lower class. You can't grow any economy if you don't have a middle class that's driving growth. Same we talk about SMEs in manufacturing sector, you have to have a middle class. And that is what we're lacking, and that's why we're not getting the growth and the social order we need. Because the middle class is the one that tend to... You remember the teachers and the nurses and everybody? They create the order. We don't have that now. 78% of our people lower class, only 13% middle class. That's a damning statistics.
And no economy can grow without a middle class.
No economy. When the Indian president or prime minister was coming in, their emphasis was middle class. When Obama was running the first time, he spoke about a lot of opportunity to take people to the middle class. When the president of DOMREP was coming in, they spoke about growing the middle class. They are 30%. They need to grow more. Or one Prime Minister Andrew Holness, the prosperity is about moving you from lower to middle class. You cannot grow your economy without a middle class.
Richard, very interesting conversation. And I think there's a lot more for us to talk about. We have to come back and we talk about a lot of these other issues because there's obviously a lot for us to discuss.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you to the viewers.
Yeah, man. Thanks for joining us here on Point. And when we come back, we'll take a look at the numbers and the word on the street.
I'm 36. I'm a husband, a manager, and still very good looking. In 2 hours, I have the most important meeting of my life. But first, it's time to play. The new Suzuki Vitara.
I started out selling out of the trunk of my car.
If everybody think the same way, everybody going in the same line.
Being an entrepreneur takes everything that you've got.
Weekends? What's weekends? We work on a weekend.
There are real opportunities everywhere you look.
But you have to have the passion.
If I do my part well, then everything is okay.
We believed in ourselves and our families believed in us.
Being convinced of this great opportunity, why we are all here doing what we're doing now.
Hi, it's Novia MacDonald-White, Senior Associate Editor at the Jamaica Observer. And guess what? You are watching Business Access Television.
Welcome back to On Point. The novel coronavirus has been spreading rapidly worldwide, negatively impacting trade, economies, and even forcing companies to pause operations in China. Here are the numbers.
As a result of the widespread shutdown caused by the novel coronavirus, the Chinese economy is expected to grow by less than 4% for the first quarter of 2020. The virus is expected to also impact economic growth for the entire year, moving the projection from an average of 6% to 5.6%. The global financial and commodities markets are also feeling the brunt of the slowed production due to the virus. In the last 2 weeks, China's stock market fell by 8%. Crude oil hit its lowest in more than a year, falling by 15% in the last 2 weeks as a result of reduced demand from China. And copper has fallen by 13%.
Our On Point team hit the streets and asked, is the government preparing adequately for the possible introduction of the novel coronavirus in Jamaica?
No, because the reason why, there's not other persons that know what coronavirus is, are also they don't have enough information in relation to how to handle it, and there's not a lot of stuff put in place to deal with it.
I'm not sure if we're adequately prepared. However, I think he needs to, because not a lot of us know about it. We all know that it's happening there and it's coming, but we don't know much information. We don't have much information on it. We're just scared for not knowing the unknown.
Well, I would say we prepare. The government can't do everything. Him just have to tell you, say, boy, they are your year on social media and all over the news people them. So, are we prepare ourselves? But that's the thing there. Though, real way, we have to protect ourselves. Them all right.
From them do a thing what a Vineyard Town, so when them lock down the hospital and try to move back a place for the coronavirus people them still. Well, we're making a step on them have the airport them and them have the nurse and the thing them, so we're trying that thing, we're making a step.
I really don't think that they're adequately prepared, because I think that coming even through the airport, they should be testing people's temperature, not just asking them alone if they've visited China. Because somebody else could visit China and they visit that person. They have a cough, no temperature. And I really think that they should do more. Hand sanitizer, alcohol, spray down your hand and thing. You know what I mean? And really ask, not just if you go China, but if you work, I work around healthcare. I could have taken care of a corona person and just decide if you come here, come dead. But you never asked me that.
We are not an organization that you can forget that's there. This is exciting days for MSMEs.
This week on Business Access.
There are many benefits that can be derived from being a small, efficient, effective operation. You can earn big money as a small business, even more so now with technology. Hi, I'm Valerie Vieira, Chief Executive Officer, Jamaica Business Development Corporation. and you are watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
I started out selling out of the trunk of my car.
If everybody think the same way, everybody going in the same line.
Being an entrepreneur takes everything that you've got. Weekends? What's weekends? We work on a weekend.
There are real opportunities everywhere you look.
But you have to have the passion.
If I do my part well, then everything is okay.
We believed in ourselves and our families believed in us.
Being convinced of this great opportunity, why we are all here doing what we're doing now.
Hi, I'm Edmund Bartlett, Minister of Tourism, and you are watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
Well, viewers, that was a very interesting discussion with the president of JMEA, Mr. Richard Pandui. We touched on a few things, but we came back. We started with the coronavirus and its impact and whether we're prepared or not. But you know what it really comes down to is our governance and how our government and public sector is prepared to deal with not just this, but other issues, the issues of law and order, the issues of discipline. That's really what it boils down to. And the fact of the matter is that we've had health scares already that the government has not dealt with properly. Remember the chickpea, which caused us millions of man-hours lost, and a lot of that was due to the fact that the government did not prepare us. They were not transparent about it. The whole dengue thing, I mean, I think we caught on late to it because initially there was a lot of denial that was taking place. So, you know, we're hoping that the government will take this one seriously, not think about it from a political point of view and think that they have to appease persons by denying that the thing is taking place, because a denial will not help. It does not change the circumstances at other time, at any time. So, you know, we have to ensure that we demand transparency, and we also have to ensure that we're mature enough to understand that you don't criticize a government for something like health. You know, we need to support them. We can't have the opposition, for example, saying that the reason why there's an outbreak is because the government is not adequately prepared. No, this is a serious situation like education and crime that we need everyone to come together on. So hopefully there will be a lot of transparency around this and we will address the problems before they arise. Well, that's our show for today. I want to say thanks to our production team and of course you, our sponsors and viewers, for staying with us on this 150th episode of On Point. That's our show for today. I'm your host, Dennis Chung, saying see you next week.
On Point was brought to you by Dargin Global.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
The Good Life, your weekly dose of information on nutrition, wellness, and fitness. Discover ways to nurture your mind, body, and spirit.
I do have a dream, and I know you have a dream, that we can make Jamaica the place of choice for you to choose to live, to work, to do business.
We are going for the Jamaica we want. Making steady progress to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals in our National Development Plan, Vision 2030 Jamaica. We have teamed up with valued partners, working through strong institutions to reduce inequalities in our society. We commit to being responsible in our production and consumption, ensuring we build sustainable communities in harmony with nature. Jamaica is making significant strides in providing quality, lifelong education for all, enabling our people to be engaged in decent work to drive economic growth, equipping men and women with the skills to build resilient infrastructure, promote sustainable industry, foster innovation, and utilize new technologies. Urgent action is being taken to manage natural resources responsibly, protecting clean water sources, ensuring access to water and sanitation for all, diversifying to alternative energy sources, conserving our environment and sustaining life below water and on land. Jamaica is making moves to ensure healthy lifestyles for the well-being of our people. We're promoting sustainable agriculture to achieve food security, improve nutrition, and end extreme hunger, putting in the work to end poverty in all its forms. We're on track in achieving our Sustainable Development Goals through realizing our Vision 2030 Jamaica. We will leave no one behind.
And I'm chilling right now because we're winning right now.
Hey guys, I'm Candy and welcome to Chill Spot, Jamaica's ultimate leisure show. This season promises to reveal some of the hidden treasures of the lifestyle industry by taking you to the chill spots of some of Jamaica's most brilliant business minds, giving you a glimpse into how they choose to unwind and just pull a vibe. You won't want to miss what happens next. Stay tuned. This week on Home Sweet Home, we go around Jamaica to visit a few of our most historical homes, each with their own little story. Our first stop, let's find out.
The Jamaica Stock Exchange wishes to help to develop the social sector. To that end, they have formed the Jamaica Social Stock Exchange, which is a safe, efficient, and transparent platform that aims to promote social projects that build Jamaica and will inure to the benefit of all persons living in the country.
The Jamaica Stock Exchange is a company that encourages and mobilizes capital for the main market. And that is the market that is not the social sector. Now, the Jamaica Social Stock Exchange is really geared towards the social sector to help to solve social problems in the field of health, education, about children, environment. Those are some of the things that we consider social problems. And so it is to mobilize the capital, allow persons who have a desire to invest in a social good, to invest in the social stock exchange. It is designed in two parts. In phase 1, where we look at social investment, and phase 2, where we look at social impact investment. Now in phase 1, really what we are saying is, it is donation. An organization will have a social issue and design it into a project or a program and invite Jamaicans or persons within the diaspora or the entire world to fund this program. Now in phase 2, you're going to get a return on investment which is not social. You will be getting shares, natural shares, as you would get if you invested in the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And what you'll get is a return on capital, which is possibly dividend or an appreciation in that share. The Jamaica Social Stock Exchange does more than ask for the funding of these programs, but goes beyond that in terms of monitoring, ensuring that these programs are meeting the targets and the reason for them to have asked for funding in the first place. When we look at this new sector, it is important because holistically, if you do not look on the social sector, you do not improve the other sectors. We want to encourage all businesses in Jamaica to have a corporate social responsibility because it is good for encouraging and the growth and development of businesses.